Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Just continuing on. I've gone back in a little bit of construction. I'm just fitting up how the crossing of the Fox River and all the industries on the east end of Green Bay. So the part I'm standing in front of this time, this is the entire crossing of the Fox River. This is going to be the swing bridge, and it should make for a pretty spectacular scene. But that's what I have right now going into this part. In this section, this is going to be like the first of the industries after the crossing of the Fox River. We're going to have the James River Mill on this side. It's just going to be a narrow building with the tracks in the front. On the back side will be the Procter and Gamble, and then we're just continuing along. I'm going to have to compress it. All the industries that went north up to the swamp, I'll have the track going off into the backdrop, but it's going to stop there. I might just have to do some creative work just to make the switching interesting. But yeah, continuing all along down towards the end. I'm going to have a balloon at the end, and that's going to be the Cheese House District. But it's just shortening it up. Trying to get as much action as I can so that trains coming from Norwood crossing the Fox River. Same with trains from North Green Bay, the FRV trains that came over. So it should make for a pretty interesting switching layout. Like actually this section in itself would make its own, truly can make its own railroad, but this should be pretty spectacular. So that's all that I got going on in the construction. I need to fit this section up so that I can build the second helix that'll come down and connect the staging. So once I have those two levels set up, then we're going to start getting it ready just to try a train and having a train do the full circle. But yeah, that's what I've been working on in the layout. I'm just starting to work this section, and I'll show you guys a few cars that I worked on in the meantime. Okay guys, so the rest of the stuff I've been doing, I've just been working on different freight car projects and weathering techniques and stuff for the upcoming video. So I can just show you a couple of things that I've done. So I took few of these Weaathering trailers kits and just put those together to do some various weathering techniques. Like on this one, you can see I've made it look like the panel's been replaced. Just did some work on the mud flaps, made some mud flaps, license plates, just little features like the bent ICC bar and just coloring in the lights, and then just the weathering. I've added, air lines on the bottom, and all I just use is a little piece of craft wire to make the air lines, and that way they stay hard, and I don't have to worry about my operators banging or bending them. See, so they stay in their position. I do like the A-line little air lines, but I find they're just too flimsy. Yeah, just a little bit of detail, make the cranks on the car, and coloring in the aluminum channel, and then there's just a couple of roof patches. So yeah, then I've been working, and I am working on these, but you can see these are just some the 48-foot Schneider trailer. Schneider was a big customer in Green Bay, so for the railroad I'm just working on making up some trailers and that for them. You can see I've added the placard holder and from A-line. So yeah, just making those trailers, and I worked on a couple of these JB Hunt trailers, and the same thing. Like, see, it's nice and hard, the craft wire, right? Same, they got the mud flaps, a little bit of roof work on them. You can see that. Next up, I just worked on a couple of Green Bay and Western rolling stock. These are the old Walthers all-door cars. I've worked on those. I'm going to show you guys how to do this weathering technique. And then just adding a couple detail parts. So I added coupler cut levers and arrow hoses to them. So there's just one of the cars that I created. And before you say that's too much weathering, when you've seen these cars when they were parked in Green Bay in '93, like at the end of their life, my modeling timeline, they're pretty grungy and dirty. And just working on a couple of waffle box cars. Just doing some different weathering techniques on the roof, and then you can just see some pitting and rusting. I'm going to teach you guys how to do all this. It's so simple. When I show you this, you're going to be like, for real? And then just a couple more of these all-door cars. This is 52. You can see the roof walk, just a little bit of roof, sorry, not roof walk, just the roof has just been dusted with I'm going to teach you guys how to do my trucks and everything. You're going to have to stick with me on May 2nd on the second section. And then I did this one with an open door. A lot of these cars are cars I've had for years, and they're just sitting. I know they're not the highest detail, but I'm building this model railroad for operation. And I'm not worried about any of these parts breaking. So they're nice and solid. They're all hard, and like, you know, the airlines are nice and rigid. Like, my operators can't break those off, so I'm not too worried about those. And I've done this car. So the Green Bay and Western converted some of these old waffle box cars into wood chip service. So they had a hinge that was welded to them. They cut the door. So I just made a few of these. Just simple. But yeah, so I'm just working on the freight cars, you know, adding little things like some detail on the bottom. When you see this on the second level, at least you're going to have just enough detail where you can tell that it's not just a plastic model, it has some kind of underbody detail. And then just moving along, I did a couple of these old cars. These are still a work in progress. I'm working on them right now. But these are the Weaathering kits. I'm going to have to clean them up, but I just needed a filler tank car, and I just hated the look of the open bottom tank car. So I followed a couple online pictures, and I just added some underbody detail. So once I get this weathered up, it's just enough that hangs, and then we can see on the freight car, right? And then I worked on adding the detail parts. Again, I just used a little piece of craft wire and bend and make my own. Just a nice filler car. It's nothing spectacular, but it's just those effects that add. And it just adds so much more to the freight car once you see it on the layout. All my freight cars, the KD trip hose will be cut off because I got the actual modeled airlines. But yeah, just things like that. Like I put the Plano placard holders on this, and yeah, I've bent up some wire for the underbody detail. At least it just gives us that. So once we're looking at it hanging on the layout, the camera makes everything look so kind of warped, but you guys can understand. You guys get it, right? So I show you those. And another thing I've been working on is just some gondolas. This is just the Weaathering, the first run of gondolas that they made for WC. I find once you weather it and stuff, a lot of that molded on detail really pops, and you don't even notice it on a operational model railroad. But yeah, and then I just working on the inside, making the floor look like it's seen some service life. So you can see the bracing, and then you can see, and this is all just done with powders. And we'll talk about this on the podcast also. So that's what we're at right now with the railroad build. You can see I've been working on all kinds of different cars here. These ones are mostly weighed, have the couplers, fixed detail parts, and weathering. And so what you're seeing right now is kind of like each one of these needs something. So that's why I have them on this table right now. Little things that it needs. The finished cars are on the other side, but I unloaded a bunch of totes. I had everything mixed up in totes when we moved into this house. So now I'm just going back through. I'm going to organize that. On the new section I'm building, I'm making some shelves underneath so that I'll be able to store this and get everything ready for the future Green Bay and Western lines. So stay with me. I got all more content coming up for you, and make sure you subscribe and you hit that icon, because I can't tell you exactly which days I'm going to post this video on. So stick around, and we're going to have lots of fun.